I'm Melissa.
I'm Maddox.
I'm Katie. I'm Victoria, and this is our video on the nervous and endocrine system.
Did you know the peripheral nervous system acts to gather information for the brain and carry out its instructions? It is composed of muscles, skin, and senses. The senses are taste, smell, hearing, and touch. The peripheral nervous system brings information to the central nervous system. It links the central nervous system to the body. The motor divisions are muscle movements and actions. The peripheral nervous system has two parts. The somatic nervous system consists of conscious movement and unconscious response, such as reflexes and senses. It is voluntary and relays signals to the skin and muscles. The autonomic nervous system is involuntary and relates to internal organs. It assesses breathing, heartbeat, body temperature, and more. There are two nervous systems within the autonomic nervous system, called the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. The sympathetic system controls organs and stress and deals with the fight or flight response. The parasympathetic nervous system controls the functions of internal organs at rest. These systems work against each other and balance each other out. The peripheral nervous system is a division of the nervous system containing all the nerves that lie outside of the central nervous system.
Hey, did you know that there are more nerve cells in the human brain than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy? Crazy. The central nervous system controls the body and the mind. It consists of two parts, the brain and the spinal cord, which isn't a lot of organs to control one system, but they work together. The brain is a control center of our body. It is responsible for interpreting information from our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, which also are known as the five senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. It also interprets signals from internal organs such as the stomach, pancreas, and liver. The spinal cord is the pathway for messages to and from the body. The brain sends messages to the rest of the body through the spinal cord. These messages are sent through nerves. Nerves communicate with each other via electrical signals that travel down the axon. This also releases chemical signals into the synapse, which bind molecules to the receptor sites on the next neuron, making the message or signal travel along. The spinal cord consists of nerves that carry incoming and outgoing messages through the brain, between the brain and the rest of the body.
Did you know 3 main glands make up the endocrine system? The first is the master gland, which is also known as the pituitary gland, which affects other glands or hormones. The next gland, the thyroid gland, regulates metabolism, body temperature, and blood pressure. The last gland, the adrenal gland, influences fight or flight reactions. The glands secrete chemical messages into the bloodstream in the endocrine system. When the pituitary gland affects hormones, they are affecting the chemicals that influence the activity of cells. Insulin, testosterone, and estrogen are all examples of steroid hormones. Also in the endocrine system, there are feedback loops, which main jobs are to maintain homeostasis. There are 2 feedback loops, the first being positive feedback, which is the release of hormones stimulate release of other hormones that stimulate more of the first hormone, or A plus B equals more A. The next feedback loop is the negative feedback loop, which is the release of hormones stimulates release of other hormones that stop further release at first hormone and can be compared to a thermostat. An example of a steroid hormone that affects the whole body is testosterone. An article on the Great Courses Daily talks about how women with extra testosterone in their body have to chemically suppress their levels of testosterone or compete with men. Testosterone is a hormone known for increasing the strength of the body's muscles and can give some women an unfair advantages in sports.
Did you know that nerve cells are actually called neurons, which is shown on this diagram right here? Now there are 3 parts to the nerve cell, which is the cell body, the axon, and the axon terminals. The first part we're going to be looking at is the cell body, which contains dendrites all around the cell body. Now, what are dendrites? Dendrites receive messages from other neurons, which is followed by the axon, which sends messages to other neurons. There are these little spaces in between called synapses, which are basically just synapses. And there are 3 kinds of neurons. There are motor neurons, sensory neurons, and inner neurons. Motor neurons send messages from the muscle to the rest of the body, or the brain. Sensory neurons send messages from your senses, so like that, to the brain. And then inner neurons send messages from neurons to other neurons.
Now, nerves communicate through neurotransmission, which is basically kind of like the domino effect. So, electric signals like calcium, potassium, and sodium, they're positively charged. They send messages and transfer through a process like the domino effect, like I said before. Now, as you know, dominoes do fall down and need to be set back up. This is used through the sodium-potassium pump, which basically sets up the neurons for its next transmission.
Did you know
that this is the end of our video?
Thanks for watching.